Hello guys, so we will now go to the part where we will be loading the posts of the guest. Okay, we're going back to our Xcode project, and this is our guest view controller Swift class. Regarding loading the posts, we already have worked on this in the home view controller, so we can just simply take the code which we wrote for the home view controller and just integrate it here in the guest view controller. This will be the most easiest way and most efficient way rather than rewriting this code. At least in my case. For you, definitely, I would advise, especially for beginners, just to write the code, just to have a practice of typing the syntax of Swift. Okay, now I'm heading to Home View Controller. We'll scroll down to the function which called load posts. Here we go. So in my case, it's the line 746. I'll just copy the entire block of code, this function, till the final closure of the function. I will copy this, and then I will come to the guest view controller, and here, right after self-aware index path, I'll make as usual 2 logical breaks, and then I will insert right over here. Okay, so here the only minor modification which we must do is we must remove this block of code where is guardlet for the current user because we want to load the pass of the user that we went to. Okay, so this guardlet, we will remove this, and here as the ID will be received the value, the variable of the class where we send the ID from the cell, from the search view controller. For example, let's say we find somebody, so we click on this, then it will receive its ID. So we will load posts according to this ID. Okay. After that, we want the following changes in this guest view controller code. And this will be regarding the pagination because we want to load more of the posts while we are scrolling down. Okay, the same function we have already wrote this. We have it written here. That is the one. Load more. So I will, in my case, is the line 8 to 9. I will just copy the entire block of this function till the final closure of this function. I will copy this from the home VC, then I will come to the guest view controller, and right after load post I will insert it here by keeping 2 breaks for the logical gap. Okay, and the same stuff we'll do here. We'll remove the guardlet current user ID. This is by writing this block we are accessing the ID of the current user, which is saved while we're logging in, and we're trying to load the posts of the current user. So we will remove this, and we want to load the posts of ID of the user. In our case, the user that we want to guest. Okay, so and another step will be to execute pagination function while we are scrolling down. Okay, and again this function, we have it written here. It is scroll view did scroll. Okay, I'll just search for it. Scroll view, that is the one. So scroll view did scroll. I'll copy this code, then I will come back to the guest view controller. Right before load more, I will insert it just to keep the chronology. First load post, then we'll scroll down, and then it will execute load more. Okay, excellent. And now I will have to create the variables which will store all of these post related information, like is the post has been liked, all the posts array, then skip, limit, etc. So now we are going to the top of our class, and here we will create post coding objects. Okay, so definitely, as you know, we need arrays of variables of arrays. So first we'll write var posts equals to array of ns dictionary and question mark opening close round bracket. So this is the posts which will store all post related information, and then we need to store the user profile picture which we have already loaded for caching. Okay, so then I will write var avos equals to then array of images UI image. Then we need to store the picture of the post. Okay, so we'll write var picture equals to array of the pictures. Picture UI image in the square brackets, then open and close round bracket. Okay, after that we need to store the information, has it been liked or not. So we write var liked equals to array of the integer, where 0 will mean it hasn't been liked and 1 will mean it has been liked. Okay, so then we have got skipped and limit. Var skip means the post we want to skip for the first load, it will be 0. Then once the first batch of posts got loaded, then we'll increment this by the number of the posts which are loaded in order to load the next batch. Okay, it will skip the first loaded batch of posts, then it will load the next ones. Okay, then we have a limit. Let's say we will use the same as in the home view controller. It must be 10. Yeah, that is the one. Here limit will be 10. Okay, excellent. And the last one, to keep our logic, it will be Boolean variables. Or I'll just not write Boolean comment, I'll just write is loading. Initially it will be false. So it means initially is not loading, but once it starts to loading the posts, then we will cast it as true. So that is load post. Once this function called, then we're casting this true. And this is a very handy logic, and we'll write here execute load more if currently is not loading. Excellent. Very good. And then this color, I would like this to keep just as a class variable. What I will do is I will go to the home view controller, UI color, that is the one liked color. I'll just copy this and I will paste it for the guest view controller. Colors. Beautiful. Okay, so now we will go to the self-forward index path in order to load all of these inside the cell. Okay, we're scrolling down, we're coming to the self-forward index path function. This function we have already written this as well. So we are now going to home vc.swift, and that will search for the function which calls self-forward index path. So that is the one in my case, it's 491, the line number. So as you know guys, we are using for the guest page only one prototype cell. For the home page we have two prototype cells. One where there is the picture, the post with the picture, and another one it is where the post is without the picture. Okay, so for example, that one is, in our case, is no picture cell. In case if you have these type of things, it's super easy to rectify them. You just will update the layout of your post view controller. I'll just show you how to do this. So we are going to the post view controller. That is the one. Okay, so it got because this label will just compress it, so I'll remove the trailing constraint. Okay, so now this must be shown in the proper way. So this is leading, this must be removed. And we will add the constraint, trailing is there. When sometimes Xcode is offering you this type of changes, it doesn't mean that there is an error or something wrong with your code. So it means Xcode is just recommends you. If there is no, for example, trailing constraint, it doesn't mean that your app not gonna work. So in this case, it just simply it is simply not required to keep the trailing constraint. Okay, now we see everything works fine. Okay, that is beautiful. So we are now going back to our guest view controller, and I'll come back to the self-route index path. So we're going now to home vc.swift, and I will scroll down to the block of code where we were loading the picture cell. We'll scroll here, that is the one in my case where we load self-route index path, etc., etc. So I will copy the entire block of code, including return cell. So I'll copy this, make sure and be careful the way you copy. Do not take additional closures inside your copy. Then we're going back to our guest view controller, and we'll just replace the entire function of self-route index path. Okay, excellent. So now we must be able to build everything as at the beginning, guys, of programming guest view controller, I told you that we will be experimenting with a little different way than we used to do this in order to have a better practice. So I will do a minor changes here. Pictures, we have created this variable, we'll just check this. Yeah, it must be pictures as at the end. Okay, so what I will do is, rather than force down casting this picture URL, I will use a one-handy logic which called if let. If let, then I remove the exclamation mark, I open a curly brackets, and this code I will put inside of this if let. Okay, I'll just press tab. I'll just press tab here just to keep these gaps. Like this. And here we will close the closure of the if let. If you will try to build this, it will be built. Okay, let's see the logic of this. Here we are using the picture cell. I'll just explain how does it work. Okay, so here we are writing let picture string, and we're accessing the path, or which called picture path. We're accessing picture path of the picture of the post. Then we want to convert this picture path to the URL. So there is a path, let's say HTTP google.com or whatever the path to the picture. So in the database, for example, we're going to the posts. So for example, that is the one. So that is the path. So this is the path of the picture, localhost fb etc.jpg. Okay, so we'll try to convert this path to being a URL like here, and then we'll try to load the URL. But there might be sometimes an issue where there is no path for the post, like here, for example. These posts are without the picture and without the path, of course, accordingly. So in this case, in order to avoid the crash, because our Xcode, because before we had a exclamation mark, which means force down casted, it will try to force down casted, and even though it is an empty string, empty path, it will push Xcode to convert it to URL, and then it might crash. So to avoid this issue, we're using if let, means if it is able to convert picture string to being a picture URL, then proceed with this one. Okay, so then let's say if it is not able to convert it to the URL, then we need to return this. So what we will do is we'll simply write here for the else statement. Yeah, simply we'll write here else statement, which is, let's say it was unable to convert the empty string to being a URL, means unable to convert empty string or whatever the reason to the to be a proper URL. Then what will happen is we will tell Xcode that there is no picture supposed to be, for example this post, and we will just add to the pictures and an empty image, because the number of the pictures loaded on the back process, for example pictures, must be equal to the number of cells. Okay, and now we need to resize the AVA. In order to resize the AVA, we must have the access to the height of the image. Okay, so we are going now to the main storyboard, and we will create a one outlet connection from the picture side to the cell. We're coming back to the guest VC at on the main storyboard, so we will select the picture height and we'll create a system call a sentence editor. So tap on your picture. So here on the right side there is a constraint which call height. Go to the pick cell.swift, and right at the end we'll just insert, we'll make an outlet connection. So this will be picture image view underscore height. Excellent. So this is the one which we will manipulate now in the guest view controller. So we're now coming back to the guest view controller, and simply we'll write here cell.picture image view underscore height dot constant equals to 0. Then we need to update the constraints of the cell. Cell dot update constraints resize picture's height, which means resize cell as per our auto layout. Blank image in the backend array, so it means no image. Okay, so the same step we will do for our AVAs. So here, instead of force down casting this, we'll just use if let, and here right after this block of code we'll close the closure, and let me just keep this gaps. I'm keeping it by pressing just simply tab button on my keyboard. Okay, And here we're writing else statement, means we were unable to convert empty string or whatever the reason to be a proper URL. And here we will write the else statement, which will be, for example, the placeholder of the avas. For example, if we're unable to load this picture, so we'll show there a placeholder. So we'll write self.avas.append. Let me just create here one placeholder image. Let placeholder image equals to UI image, open the round brackets, select the function named and user PNG, because this file is inside of our project. And here let's append with a placeholder image. Append array of avas with the placeholder image. So yeah, that is what we want to do. So we can now call the function which is load post right after the users. Load post offset will be our skip value and limit will be our limit. Okay, so we will now build and run our project, and we must be able to load all the posts of the user that we want to guest. Okay, there is some minor error it shows. Yeah, don't forget to force downcast it, but in this case it is fine because we are sure that in our Xcode there is a picture which called user.png. That is the one, user.png. So we're sure about this, so we can just simply force downcast it and telling Xcode shut up. We're sure that there is a user.png and just want to force it to do this. Okay, so that is my home page, and I'll search out for some user, let's say Jennifer Lawrence. And yeah, one more stuff which we need to do is return the number of cell. So right before number of rows in section, here we must return total number of posts dot count. So total number of posts. Okay, we'll just simply build and run it again, and we will enjoy loading the posts of the user. So it's quite simple. If we have built initially our app well, for example, Home VC, so we can use the same code. Okay, so let's go to the Jennifer Lawrence, and here we go. These are her posts. Unbelievable. That is really, really beautiful. So these are the posts of the Jennifer Lawrence. So we can come back and try to load Samuel L. Jackson. He has no posts. Then we're going to Jackie Chan. So he has just one post. So who else? Let's say Nicole Kidman. She got only one post. And then we're going to the Bradley Cooper, and he got two posts. So that is really amazing, guys. So this is how does it work. This is the way how we can program the one way of logic in the different programming styles. So congratulations, that's really unbelievable and beautiful. So good job, guys. Now we'll go to the part where we can work with the likes and the comments for these posts. So good job, congratulations.